Hey everyone, it's Motzi, and I have some amazing and exciting news. On August 22, Friday, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., Hainai is going to be at Fan Expo with the Canadian Podcast Awards booth. As some of you may already know, the Canadian Podcast Awards have done amazing work supporting and uplifting Canadian podcasters. And you can visit their booth at Fan Expo all throughout the weekend from August 21 to 24 to meet all kinds of fantastic podcasters, from actual plays to interview podcasts to educational podcasts and fiction podcasts like us. If you come see us on Friday, you'll be able to grab some fantastic merch as well as an early copy of the Hainai short story collection. Remind me to tell you later. Filipino folk horror from the Hainai podcast. If you plan on coming by to Fan Expo Canada on Friday, August 22, come see us live at 4 to 7 p.m. at the Canadian Podcast Awards booth. You'll get to meet me, Motzi Dapu, who plays Mary, as well as a bunch of other characters, Leon Johnson, who plays Donner, and Natalie, who plays Evelyn Y. Come say hi, and thank you, as always, for being a fan and a listener. Oh, and by the way, if you can't make it to Fan Expo because we'll only be there for a day for 3 hours, you can actually grab the book at its official debut at DreadCon Canada. That's DreadCon Canada in Burlington at the Holiday Inn on September 13. It'll be a one-day event, but you get to check out some amazing horror and dark fiction writers at that convention. I'll be selling some of my comics there, as well as the Hainai short story collection, so you'll be able to get your hands on an original copy. I'll also be speaking at a panel about queer horror, so keep an eye out on DreadCon's schedule, and come say hi on September 13. I'll be giving away free gifts to those who listen to Hainai, or those who purchase the book. So once again, come see us at Fan Expo on August 22 from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Canadian Podcast Awards booth, or at DreadCon on September 13, whole day at the Holiday Inn Burlington. Maraming salamat. And see you there. Kita-kits! We'd like to give a special shout out to the following people for making this episode and the rest of Act 3 possible. Louis, Malaya, Reg, Daniel Athern, Ostrakim, Vanna, Finch, Dr. Dan Venning, Sleepless Berry, Court, Rogue Canoe, John and Muna, Sadie, Zay the Great, Elliot Kane, and Trident. Thank you for your support. Maraming salamat. You are listening to Hainai by Motzi Dapu. Episode 65. Balisong.
Billy Boy. I know they called him that sometimes when he was older, but that was what I would call him when he was still a child. It was his favorite song.
Why does the Benefactor use it then?
When they were developing spells, my young colleagues in the Ordo learned that music could be a good spell trigger. I never quite took that on, but they did. They did so love their songs. Mary Ann chose a song she and her brother enjoyed as children. Go Tell Aunt Nancy. The Benefactor, well, it seems that my son lent him use of his song, for when I asked why he chose it, he said it was a gift from young Will.
Is that what the music box was about?
I used to love them like my own. I was so proud of their work. But after John Isaac, well, when he died, I thought it a tragedy. But I didn't think of him much more than that. I loved that man like a son, and threw him away when his death threatened to shatter the certainty of my own ideals. That was the kind of man I was. Only when I killed my own son was my delusion finally shattered, and my future with it.
They were in love, you know.
Ah, I should have guessed. But there were many things I chose not to see. I knew about Marianne and her lover. I even knew about Richard Henry. But with my son, I was blind to what he was, to serve the image of him I had in my head.
Marianne. I spoke to her recently. Do you know about her, foci?
I don't. But there were things she didn't want me to know. Why?
We've been scouring the city for her foci because her rebellion against you involved creating ones that would undo or neutralize or disrupt the foci your elders used to gather power.
Remarkable. But that would require the power the foci feed off of, the energy they absorb from a dying soul.
She figured that, yeah. And she figured the only thing more powerful than the energy of a soul is the soul itself. So she split herself to pieces and put pieces of her soul into the foci. 100 of them, I think.
The ultimate sacrifice. But not enough for how many elders and how many foci were created in the end.
I was going to ask the Benefactor if he wanted to try it, but...
A leader of elders isn't liable to make that sacrifice.
He isn't their leader. He's their warden. And this might be the move to finally depower them, which is something I know he wants to do.
Be that as it may, ask him if you need to. Learn who he is. I am here if he proves as stubborn a man as I was.
Hi, Nay. I had a strange dream last night. It was strange because I remember it perfectly, and I almost never remember my dreams. The last time was when Abe... Well, anyway. I remember this dream perfectly, and I worry about what it means. I met a young man, just about my age, though a little bit younger. At least, he looked that way. I had a feeling he was much older than he looked. He had a puckish way about him, a slender and beautiful young man with dark hair and eyes like... well, eyes like stars. Gray and bright and twinkling in the darkness we both found ourselves in. In his hand, he held a long, sharp knife, pristine and shining, and it seemed to whisper for blood. I was wary, but he stood in front of me with his knife in hand, and he smiled at me, waved like we were old friends. "So," he said, "this is you." I didn't know what he meant, but I stepped closer all the same. This was a dream after all. And even if it wasn't, he wasn't holding all the cards. He stepped back, laughed a charming laugh, and said not to worry. He wasn't here to hurt me. Wasn't here to kill me in my dreams. I asked why he would say that, and he said that it was what he did. It was what people paid him for, in money or favors. It was what set him apart from his fellow elders. He was, he said, the only elder who had ever figured out how to walk through dreams and kill through them. Though it was never as straightforward as they thought. They saw a knife in his hand and assumed that that was how he killed. But the knife was for the world awake, a comforting assurance in his hand. For sleep, killing someone required quite a bit more fear. Fear and the nightmare that they could not wake up from. I told him I could kill him just the same. So why would he confess his crimes to me? And he smiled at me wryly and said, "If you kill me, you'll never know why I came to speak with you." So we sat in conjured chairs and I told him to speak, and speak fast. He said he was sent here to spy on me, to observe me, dig through my dreams and find out my weakness. He was sent here by other elders, for when I wasn't looking, they had begun to plot against me. They knew who I was by now, and they knew I was a threat. A natural user, he called me, who they all feared for how much I had thwarted their foci, their power sources. They wanted me dead. It had become a point of interest for most of the elders to try and make that happen. I asked why, if the other elders wanted me dead, why he didn't try to kill me. He laughed so hard I worried he'd hurt himself, and he said they asked him to, promised him so many favors, so many riches, he'd be set for 20 lifetimes. But he refused. I knew I couldn't do it. I knew you were dangerous. I knew that no matter what they offered me, I was no match. So instead, I came to you with open palms and wanted to speak to you face to face. He said, I wanted to warn you in exchange for something. If you'll accept. I told him I'd accept nothing until he told me exactly what he wanted. And his answer? I wasn't expecting it, really. To be spared, he said. That's all. For me and my loved one to be left alone. He looked at me with those eyes like stars, and it was almost like I knew him. Like I could see the depth of suffering in those eyes. For all the history the elders had, they did not have those same eyes. Not one of them. But then again, I had never seen the benefactor's eyes, or remembered them, whichever the case may be. "How do I know this isn't a trick?" I asked. "You don't," he said, "but it isn't." So I asked him his name. He said he didn't have one, and I didn't sense that he was lying. I asked him his title. I could, in the very least, have this leverage. He seemed uncertain, but I said that the elders weren't my friends, and the only way they would know that he had warned me is if he betrayed me too. Or, I said, I could simply break into his dreams, find it for myself. For a moment, just a flash, I saw a child with eyes like stars and shackles on their hands. But only for a moment. He was the same elder as before after that. Finally, I said, "If you don't kill, I have no reason to go after you. Same for your loved one. I have too much to worry about to bother with hunting down elders who keep to themselves, especially if what you say is true." "Asking an assassin not to kill?" he said, laughing. But he held his hand out anyway. I looked at his gloved fingers, something about them niggling at my senses, and he shrugged and removed the glove, revealing a hand missing fingers from a long-ago injury. I didn't ask, but in some ways, I already knew his pain. We shook hands, not an agreement bound by a spell, but by some level of trust in this place that I learned other elders could not easily enter. "Salai," he said, "I do not have another name. I forgot my true name long ago." "Mary," I said, "if that's the only name you identify by, and it means something to you, if it's the name that lives in your heart, it might have become your true name by now. Though I don't think any of you elders have figured that out yet. What a true name really is." He thanked me for the warning, but before he left, he plucked something from the dream and presented it to me like a nobleman genuflecting before royalty. "A gift," he said, "to honor our good faith agreement." And he gave me a balisong, a butterfly knife, perfectly sharpened. The patterns on it, the wood, almost perfectly matched one I remember Tatay owning in his youth. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "Your magic is powerful, I know that. But sometimes, elders forget about the little things. Knives, guns, mundane human things. You shouldn't forget them, though. Arm yourself, Mary. They're coming for you." And then I woke up, the Balisong resting on the bedside table. It felt familiar in my hands when I picked it up, and very, very real. I wished I could speak to him again, ask him how he did this. I knew that there was a bridge between dreams and waking, but I had never known how to close the gap. And this one elder, not like the rest, had somehow figured it out, and he used it to give me Tatay's knife. I never knew what happened to it after he was killed. I remember that I used to play with it. Too dangerous, so he would give me a blunt one to practice with. I used to do the tricks, and they would make him smile. He would tell me that he grew up just a few kilometers away from Balisong and Pandayan in Taal, where the blades were made. He said he owned one ever since he was a kid. I remember looking at his hands, covered in old, long-healed scars, and wondering why a man as peaceful as Tatay would need to have such a weapon. I wonder now if he got to use it in the end. It was too late for a call, but I called Vanessa anyway. Told her we had to meet, though I knew she'd been avoiding me since the meeting. She sounded like she'd rather swallow razor blades, but she agreed to meet me anyway. The magic of our pact buzzing in my hand. And before I went back to what was ultimately a dreamless sleep, I sent Laura a text, asking to meet right away, come morning. So, yeah. Talk to you soon, Nay.
You're listening to Hi Nay by Motsi Dapul.
Hey everyone, this is Motsi, creator of the Hi Nay podcast. Hi Nay is a podcast produced by myself, Yoy Halago, and Alyssa Jimenez, and co-created by Reg Helly, and licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. This episode was co-produced by Jesse Goodsell, and written and directed by Motsi Dapul, who also plays the role of Mary Datuin. The role of Cornelius is played by Ivan Dapul. Special thanks to Edward McKee for assisting in the writing process. If you'd like to chat with other listeners when episodes go live, we do a live premiere 3 times a month on Sundays at 9 p.m. EST or Toronto time on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HiNayPod. To help support the production of Hi Nay, you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/HiNayPod. You'll get to listen to episodes ad-free and get to be part of our early access program, where episodes are released 3 days early on Thursday at 9 p.m. EST or Toronto time. You can also get bonus audio, art, video, and much more. Speaking of Patreon, we'd love to give a shout out to the following patrons for all their amazing support. Prinks Variety, Kathy S., Didi Chanuk, Johnny Demented, Maya B., Chandra, Aj W., Tony Baloney, Nay, Boyo, Phoenix Luna, Kate Jordan, Tiana Harvey, Rakukard, Sabine, Ben, Sean, Josh the Alchemist, Jess Snow, Maddie Ramigio, Talon, Nanette Dapul, Mika, Matthew Upton, Anna, Sooks, Becca Terrier, Amelia Brownstein, Diana Cause, Melissa, Emma H., Faye Fungi, Pablo Neurotic, Oster Kim, Evie Smith, Megan, Jesse Goodsell, Malaya Light, and Victoria Goodwin. If you can't subscribe monthly, you also have the option to buy us some milk tea on Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/HiNayPod, HINAYPOD. You can even buy ad-free episodes over there if you purchase our Hi Nay album, which has the ad-free, credits-free version of our episodes from Act 1 and 2. You also get this album for free as a patron. Check out our website, hinaypod.com, for more news and updates, And don't forget to follow us on all socials, on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, and now Blue Sky. Hi Night is available on Acast and wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you enjoy our Act 3 episodes. And as always, thank you, we love you, and hanggang sa muli.